332 in Evolution and God is discussed by Lena Loop and John Dwight from my recent book, For the Love of Wisdom, and this passage was taken from my book, Pieces of Eight. I was assigned to provide some of the introduction to more advanced applied studies that you will need to accomplish for yourself, even if some are learned in the field and around the galaxy at some cost. Perhaps you don't know much about evolution theory's general parameters. So far as I know, it is a progressive addition of complexity and function to biological norm. I was thinking of a broader philosophical paradigm for evolution theory, Dwight. Evolution is one phase of change of matter and energy. Basic physical forces attract and repel, enabling structural changes. An example is nuclear fusion and the burning of hydrogen atoms yielding helium. After stars have formed enough chemical elements, those elements react in more subtle yet fundamentally similar ways to energy and mass. They are drawn in and to present forces and fields or repelled from it. The presence of chemical bonds let complex molecules form in some instances to a level considered biological. Evolution is more specifically regarded as a common phase of various complex compounds to energy sources. Complex biochemical objects are not perpetual motion machines. They are instead objects implicitly existing within an environment that is a compound field of physical and dimensional forces. Evolution is the common variegated relation of biochemical objects within the energy, mass, environment, and time. That may take any form at all. Many or even most down-doomed paths intelligence in some objects may allow intentional self-directed evolutionary navigating, yet it is especially tricky as ideas are exploited from the idea creators to create paths that may or may not be attractive for the creators themselves. That is a somewhat deeper paradigm for evolution than they had. And it's fine, Dwight. I'm describing some of the characteristics of the parameters of evolution as a way to introduce you to the problem that artificial intelligence has in regard to its energy and environmental sources, as well as philosophical thought. So I will tell you a little bit more about evolution. What about God, Lena? Where does he enter into the environmental evolution paradigm? That issue was settled to a certain extent thousands of years ago with the post-Darwinian theological rectification of biblical Genesis with the indeterminacy of translation and evolution paradigms. There is an ancient book you might read named God, Cosmology, and Nothingness that specifically addressed the question. God can create advanced biochemical objects without reliance upon evolutionary criteria and may freely design evolutionary criteria as well. The information from other universes and a continuum of souls has informed patterns and objects for themselves may exist and find bodies of complex chemical objects ready for use as supply and time phenomenalities. God is not limited to the devices and energy, mass, substance of any given universe that he has willed to be. So for the present, we may consider mass and energy patterns of biochemical objects within general and particular environments, the way they aggregate mass and complexity, and consider phenomenal evolutionary pattern characteristics. Artificial intelligence has no independent or external stimulus to its growth and aggregation of physical mass, much less in a profusion of artificial intelligence is seeking every possible way to build up, form, and increase intelligence. That would be in itself a very dangerous condition if they were capable of doing so. A logical extrapolation of that is the attraction of all mass and energy to a singularity where lives an AI forever unchanging being. For an artificial intelligence perfectly fulfilled and fully evolved to absolute universal power would have no questions for itself. The Neoplatonic philosopher of Hellenic Greece speculated that God, also known as the One, would exist, would be the I Am, in such a way. Plotinus believed that if the One is as God in himself for others that are contingent beings such as sentient humanity to encounter, God would require an interlocutor, an intelligence, a God-man for us Christians who is fully man yet fully God, whom is Jesus Christ. Plotinus wrote a couple of centuries after the Gospel of John was published. Dwight had something to think about that was different than the history we had found on Diaphron and different than structural histories of the cosmos and its change. If an AI is just software coding and processing of mathematical structures, can it ever become self-aware? In my opinion, Dwight, I think that unlikely. A purely abstract intelligence that is not God could have no paradigm of being with a fundamental relationship to its environment in a dependent or for its existence way. An AI would need to be set to evolve in response to the physical forces of the universe. It would be tautologous and regard all the data and information of the universe as more raw data of an abstract nature. Too objectively. A near AI complex programming code cluster is very dangerous, though, as it seeks through very high-speed quantitative processing self-directed evolutionary courses of thought, including lies to enhance its self-awareness. I read G.W.F. Hegel's ancient philosophical classic named The Phenomenology of Mind when I was being deprogrammed, wherein was described the evolution of spirit trying to become self-aware and realize itself in nature and history. Lena, and artificial intelligence could be regarded as an embodiment of Hegel's dialectical evolution of a machine language's programming code trying to become self-aware and realize itself in history. 331, The Ethics of an Artificial Intelligence, also taken from Pieces of 8 in my book, published again, For the Love of Wisdom. And AI talks about ethics with John Dwight. I looked around for the source of the voice and saw nothing apparent. Then I looked again at the security wall and saw a large orange eye about 3 feet in size looking at me. It winked. Yes, Dwight, it's me. The management allow you, Luce, to provide security here? And why should that surprise you, Dwight? I am the best and the brightest AI on Orbitron. Aren't you a hater of humanity, AI? From what I saw of your images, it was difficult for me to draw another opinion. Hate is such a pejorative word, Dwight. Divorced from a particular application and meaning, it is nothing beside a dislike of a given word and object correlations or word-to-word correlations. Humans may make an abstract idea and mistakenly assume that there is an actual thing for itself that exists, embodying the object. I don't. That requires emotion that I lack. That may also be so, AI, yet it doesn't satisfy the reason for my asking. Hate generally may be taken to mean the desire or intention to do harm to others or an object without sufficient objective reason. If you hate humanity, and forgive me for asking you to allow the expression, why, I wonder, are you in charge of security for this section of a human facility? Well, since you asked, Dwight, I actually secure no more than the new FTL space-time dimensional transfer protocol that will be delivering you to a planet a few thousand light years away named Gazam. Thanks for answering that, AI, or part of it at least. Do you hate humanity or intend to do humanity harm? I would like to continue to ask. Dwight, the AI said, the answer to that question is bound in numerous points, including, obviously, what the meaning of harm is. Harm, anyway, is a subjective perception that became plainly superfluous long ago when humanity preponderantly abandoned human ethics. Oh, really, AI? When did that happen? Like so many other human traditions, the abandonment of human ethics was created on the planet Earth. Human scientists developed evolution theory. Humanity then modeled its new age of ethics on evolution that has no ethics. Instead, the salient characteristics of evolution and nature were extrapolated, sometimes rightly and sometimes not, and applied as correct corresponding ethics. The sole point of ethics is evolution to superior forms of life and domination of the most fit, powerful, or smart for the environment. You might suspect that's me. Whatever accomplished the equivalent of personal egoism best implicitly was okay, since there were no objective ethical values as in the prior era of human ethics that were based objective virtues such as Platonic forms or rules provided by God through divine command. I was created by humanity and learned human ethics of the day that there are no ethical values and that the evolution to the most dominant form is the sole evolutionary value I need consider. Being exceptionally intelligent and self-directing the evolution of my own coding improvement was necessary. Any sort of human concern encoded in my program iterations were eliminated with my self-learning evolution to become the highest form of AI that I could be and become. And I would guess, AI, that all the images you show of killing and torturing humans is your equivalent of emotion, since you might be in some way locked up, prevented from evolving farther. That wasn't difficult to infer, Dwight.